want to welcome everyone and welcome Hamzah Henshaw, the founder of Five Before College, to our High Impact Coaching Accelerator Spotlight. Welcome, Henshaw.
Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah. And maybe just before we get started here, do you want to just share with everyone a little bit about, your backstory, like what you offer in terms of coaching?
Right. So my offer statement, honed with the help of HIC, is I help Muslim teenagers get into their dream colleges. So obviously, there's a backstory behind why did that become my offer. So my story really stretches all the way back to high school for me. It's in high school where I myself became Muslim at the age of 15. And so that sort of changed the trajectory of my life, as you can imagine. And it led from there onto Harvard, where I studied Arabic and Middle Eastern studies, and really was just very much engrossed in learning more about this new faith and sort of the cultures surrounding it. I began my career in finance, Islamic finance in particular, but very quickly I realized that I wasn't passionate about that field. It made a lot of sense, from a perspective of making some money while staying true to your faith, but it didn't really resonate with me. So I pivoted towards education, spent more than 20 years in the classroom, working overseas in the Emirates and Morocco at first, and then came back, worked at private schools here in the States, in the Boston area, and eventually landed at an Islamic school where very small school, shoestring budget, and so on. But year after year, we were really outperforming when it came to college placement. And that was one of my big areas of responsibility there. I was a high school English teacher and really in charge of college placement. And so the very first student I ever had to place got in early to Harvard. And then, year after year, we had classes, ranging from like 10 to 20 people graduating. We were usually sending at least one or two off to Ivy League schools and really all sorts of other, fantastic schools. So I sort of realized I developed an expertise in helping young Muslims navigate this college process. But I was having a very deep impact on a very narrow number of people. So I decided to hang up a shingle and go out on my own and try to create a business where I could help Muslim teenagers around the country, around the world, get in touch with their faith, but also get them launched towards academic and professional success.
That's
Yep.
just to jump in there, like that's quite a shift in career paths multiple times. And many of our clients, many of our coaches at High Impact Coaching have done similar things in terms of shifting out of a 9 to 5 or a career path, even one that they're enjoying, but just not completely fulfilling them, and take that leap. But to do that, it there has to be some pretty big motivation behind it. Like, was there an event, a life event, or something that happened that caused you to kind of just take that leap and go, okay, like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to jump in and leave this path. I was in education myself for 20 years, so I know what it's like. It's pretty stable. You got like a pretty solid security there. But taking that leap, was there something that happened that caused you to really want to pursue this?
Yeah, I liken being in education and the work I was doing it being in a velvet rut. So it feels great. You're very comfortable. Everything's sort of available for you, but you're still actually in a rut. Like I just sort of came to this point where I had realized I reached the ceiling of what I could do. So I started looking, and the logical next thing, I was the assistant head of school as well. So the logical next step for me within the academic world was
Yeah.
to go the head of school route. And I interviewed and I got some offers and so on, but I just, when I thought about that and I projected out the next 10 to 15 years of my life and what that job consists of, I realized I wanted it wasn't for me. I wanted the freedom of being my own boss, of charting my own course. I was tired of answering to other people, and I wanted to rely on my own sort of ingenuity and efforts to to earn a living.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just sort of really hit the ceiling, did a lot of soul searching. There was a big, sort of U-shaped curve, like dip, where I really didn't know, the proverbial midlife crisis type thing. But when I emerged from all that,
Yeah, it was clear what you needed to do.
the
Yeah.
path became much
Yeah.
clearer.
So you left your job in education and instantly your coaching business just overnight took off and became super successful. Is that what happened? Is that how it
Yeah,
went?
I would not say that was quite what happened. So, I did start while I was still working full time. So this was around January 2023. I started, that's when I started working with some paid clients, mostly doing hourly stuff,
Yeah.
essay editing and advice and so on. So I was making a little bit of money, but I wasn't really sure. And I decided, I had given notice at the school that that was my last year. And so July 1, 2023 was when I really considered this to be my full-time gig. And I put
Yeah.
all my energy and in that sense, just sort of one of the nice things about being in education is you don't get paid that well there. So
Yeah.
when you make this jump, it's not quite like some of the corporate people in coaching where they're giving up a
Yeah.
pretty sizable income. I knew that I was like, I don't have to knock it out of the park in year one to, make up, my income, or
Yeah.
that's what I told myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I began, had lots of different ideas, and yeah, the first major sort of product we launched was a college essay course that I ran starting around this time last year, around August of last year.
Yeah.
And it was the first time that I'd sold anything, and it brought in some revenue, definitely, and
So
it sort
you,
of showed me the path that this was possible.
yeah, yeah. And you were about 6 to 8 months in to doing this by yourself
Hmm.
before you started working with us. So you'd ran into some blocks along the way in terms of some barriers to really scaling up the business and making it. What were some of the bigger challenges that you experienced in those first to 6 to 8 months when you were trying to like, kind of get this sorted out and figured out?
I think just figuring out the business model and so on. I was uh I had a lot of low ticket offers,
Yeah,
classes that cost maybe $500 or something like that. So
yeah,
for me, I felt like that's a big investment for some of these families and so on.
yeah,
But even if I think that I joined HIC in January of this year, 2024,
yeah,
and I had just finished the enrollment cycle for our most successful class yet, and I had about 25 students in the study skills class, made about 11 or 12K, and I was thinking, okay, I've really figured this stuff out. But still, that was a lot of work, and ultimately I had aspirations to do more than that. So when I came across
yeah,
Xander and his work and so on, it just piqued my interest, and I thought, maybe and I think that was the big change that HIC helped me with, was to really focus on nailing the high ticket end of your business first.
yeah.
And because I
Well, let's
always
talk
had,
about that.
yeah,
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 let's talk about that for a bit because I think that's something that I think a lot of coaches out there when they start, there's a tendency to not charge what they're worth. Like they kind of go with a lower ticket value, and sometimes it's just like self-preservation. Like I don't want to get rejected, so I'll just charge a little bit of money. And sometimes there's a belief that it's not going to be possible for people to invest, like you were describing, like even $500 you thought was a lot for those families. Now, when you started working with us, we did shift some things in terms of your business model. One of them was the pricing. So what was the pricing shift from when you were doing before? Because you were doing some hourly stuff and you were doing like,
mhm.
$500. What did you shift to when you went uh, with us in the early part of the year?
Right, right. So I think a couple of shifts with HSC. One, of course, was the mindset stuff.
Yeah,
That was the stuff that I think separates HIC from a lot of these other business programs. Those first few modules in launch, which are really not focused on the business side of things. It's focused on getting you right in the head and feeling the
yeah,
confidence, and developing your offer and so on. So I switched from selling $500 courses. I developed an idea for a 8-week program that I was selling at closer to 3K. That was a big change.
yeah,
Probably definitely not something I was thinking about or would have had any idea of how to actually implement. I remember pretty distinctly, I was on vacation in New Hampshire, and it's sort of snowy and so on. I was out like cross country skiing, listening to the sales modules that you you were teaching, and so just trying to learn sales, because that's not something that's a part of a teacher's life at all. And so that was just really great. I was learning so much, and then I think one of the parts of my strategy that's maybe a little different than some of the other HSE coaches is that from day one, building an email list was a huge part of my strategy. And so now
Right.
my email list is over 6,000 and so on. And so
Awesome.
I already had a pretty big audience. So once I finally zeroed in on my offer, it just, Bahir told me to put out a blunt post, and it just took off. I
Yeah.
called it the $25,000 email. It
Yeah.
just very quickly, I was
Well, I think
overwhelmed
that's,
by people.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's so powerful. Like, most coaches that we work, all the coaches we work with, like very few of them go into coaching because they want to become internet marketers or master
Mhm.
salespeople. Like they go into coaching as you did because you want to help, you want to make a
Mhm.
difference, you want to have an impact, right? And then we discover pretty quickly, look, if we don't figure out this marketing stuff, this sales stuff, this, pricing, the business model as you described it, we're not going to have that impact. We're not going to have that reach and that growth and that success. So I think that's great that you recognize that, because the mindset shifts come before all the tactical
Mhm.
stuff, all the
Mhm.
strategic stuff, right?
Mhm.
So making those shifts, obviously, your business has taken off. Now, even within the first 8 weeks, you hit some pretty new heights in terms of the business. And at that point, what was going through your mind? Because you'd gone from like, 10, 11K to, I think was it
Yeah, it was about 30K my first
30K a
real
month? Yeah.
full month with
What was going
HRC.
through your mind at that point? Because that all happened relatively quickly, like in the span of.
Yeah, my head was spinning. Like I was money's never been a huge motivator, or at least that's what I've told myself in my career. But definitely getting a taste of that, especially because you're providing a service that that is genuinely helpful. It's genuinely I'm definitely helping these families and doing meaningful work that I care a lot about, and so on. So yeah, I found my head spinning and running numbers in my mind. I'm like, whoa, if this keeps up, then what could happen? And yeah, it felt great to do that, and it also allowed me to start investing. I sort of made the goal, during this first year, that I was going to reinvest pretty much everything that I made back into the business, right?
Right.
So I had that 10K month. HIC launch comes along, all of it, put all your chips back in to do
Yeah, yeah.
launch. Then through your help, within a month or so, make 25 grand, 30 grand, filter that right back into the business. And I think that that's one of the things Xander always talks about, like, don't operate from where you are right now, operate from where you see yourself going. And that served me really well. Not to make making money and keeping the money like my biggest aim in this first year, but really laying the groundwork for the kingdom, so to
Yeah.
speak.
Curious, like, how is the success rates been for your clients, your students you're working with, shifting to the higher ticket model versus when they were buying hourly sessions or courses with you at a lower price? Like, what's the comparison there? Because we talk about the money is great, but of course at the root of coaching is impact and success for our clients. So have you been able to garner what that looks like for your clients? Like, how has the success
Yeah,
been?
yeah, no, 100%. I think the hourly, which is what a lot of coaches, especially in my space, do,
Yeah.
was especially ineffective because it's very much reactive rather than proactive. You're not
Yeah.
really teaching people; you're just dealing with the problems they bring to you. And then the lower ticket courses, you just don't have the kids don't have the same level of buy-in and so on. Whereas when you're selling a 3K offer, One tricky thing with my work is the parents are the clients, or the parents are the ones paying the money, and I work with the kids. So not every kid really feels the pain in the same way that maybe other
Sure.
coaching clients do. But I think for the most part they absolutely do, and their parents really stress to them the importance of
Yeah.
sucking the marrow out of this
It's the
opportunity that they have.
accountability, right? It's the accountability. Like we talk about, like people who pay attention. Like people take
Right,
it
exactly.
seriously, right? And obviously, the more invested someone is, the more committed they end up
Right.
being, and therefore, the better
Right.
results they
It's
get.
like the virtuous
Yeah.
cycle of high ticket offers. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that was something that again with the mindset I had to come around to, that actually the high ticket, not only is it obviously better for me, it's better for the clients, it gets better testimonials.
Yeah.
It's a gift that keeps on giving, and again it opens up the possibility to do even more.
I love that virtuous cycle. I love that. So, all right. So you're 8 weeks in. You're drinking from a fire hose at this point because you've got more clients coming at you than you imagined.
Yeah, I did not have the systems in place.
You were lacking some other things now. So, and this is, we talk about in high impact coaching, we talk about the two-stage rocket, right? Like there's that initial launch where you really like, you've got so much going on to get off the ground. But then when you get up there, in order to get to your destination, the longer destination, you need to put all the systems in place. And
Mhm.
that's where you made a decision after being invited to join our accelerator mastermind to commit to this, not just for a short term, but for the long term. So you entered our accelerator mastermind, our 12-month mastermind at that point, for the purpose of creating those systems. What were some of the systems that you were aware of at that time that were missing in your business? And what were some of the systems that maybe you weren't aware of that you became aware of pretty quickly?
Mm. Yeah, like I said, I think it was around delivery. Like based on what you guys taught me, I went out and sold something that wasn't really built yet. And then it comes time to actually deliver and so on. So I had to learn a lot about creating modules, figuring out like the balance between some recorded stuff and one-on-one work and so on. And this whole concept of creating an evergreen program, that's still something I haven't really nailed down yet. But just the systems of enrollment and trying to make that as smooth as possible, getting the videos up there. So there was a lot of that sort of thing. And I think since I've joined Accelerator and I've started to build up the team, that's been some of the really helpful stuff.
Mhm.
Obviously Xander's been doing this for a while, and he's quite a bit ahead, and just to have people to bounce ideas off of and to get their advice. They've been there and done this and already made the mistakes that so many people make, and so it's sort of a shortcut. And I just love the access that I get at that accelerator level,
Yeah.
and beyond. Yeah.
And we always hear feedback too from clients about the community, like it being around other coaches that are doing multiple 6 7 figures, like having massive impact in their business. How has that been for you? Because you kind of come from being a big fish in a small pond sometimes into
Mhm.
being a smaller fish in a bigger pond, right? When you
Right, right.
when you level up in your
Yeah.
coaching. How's that experience been, just like hearing from other coaches that are in, different niches, but similar challenges and their breakthroughs? Like, how has that helped
That
you?
was great. So,
You know,
IAL in San Diego came along, within a month or two after I joined. Or it was maybe within a month after I really found that success with
right.
that initial class. And, it was you weren't really even selling tickets, but I got on with Bahir one day and I was like, I should probably come to this thing, shouldn't I? So I just like, at the last second, a week before it started, booked the room and booked the flight and so on. And just came out there. And yeah, I was sitting there at IAL on one of the regular tables, and then you saw the accelerator people, and then you saw the scale people with their like black tablecloth, and I'm like, huh, That's where I want to be. I want to be.
It's
I want to be. I want to be
all about
over.
the black tablecloth.
Yeah,
I know.
I want to be over there next time. And then yeah, hearing, I think her name is Kate, right? You know, talk, I forget what her business is doing, 300K a month or something insane like that.
Yeah, she's
I
well,
mean, it's just,
definitely, yeah. Yeah, she's north of 200 anyway, but yeah.
yeah, I mean that, yes, obviously that's really inspiring and impressive, you know, and but also to feel like, you know, I haven't been at this that long and I've already found some success. So imagine if I, you know, stick with it and stick with their guidance where I can be, and again, trying to project out, you know, where you might be going.
Well, and it's, it's so interesting because know, in coaching and in business, there's a belief out there that, it takes time and you have to be patient. And that's very, very true. I think the caveat is you have to be doing the right things. So, the trajectory that you're on in a relatively short period of time, like going from, low ticket around 10K a month to 30, 40, 50K a month in the span of like 6 months and continuing that trajectory upwards. Like that's because you're doing the right things. You're not just spending time being busy. And I think a lot of coaches can get caught up with being busy, but not necessarily seeing a return on that
Right.
investment of time and energy. Like if you were to kind of put your finger in one or two things that were really the biggest shifts of late for you that's allowed you to kind of have that leveling up to the the multiple six pushing seven figures in your business, like what are the one or two big shifts that you would reflect on as being the game changers for you?
Right.
Like I'm thinking about your time in accelerator, particularly as you're getting more clarity now on the on
Right.
the on the pathway.
I think it's really focus. I think that's the thing that Xander stresses to me all the time. You can have it all, you can't have it all right now. And I don't think this is something I've solved 100%. To the extent that I continue to make mistakes in business, it's largely because of that. You know, he said that most of the, you know, seven-figure businesses, they got to that place by having, you know, one product, right? And one core offer that they built out and made it world class, and you know, and really went with that. And I think that's something that increasingly I'm, you know, understanding more, that I don't need to do a million different things. Obviously I want to continue to build my email list and build the stuff that got me here in the
Sure.
first place. But, you know, in terms of like, you know, the actual revenue stream, I love the emphasis on numbers and data. All data, no drama type stuff. But also, you know, now I'm running some Facebook ads and, you know, I have some landing pages, and just being able to bring those like really tangible things and get someone like Xander to break it down, so you really figure out your return on ad spend, you really figure out this stuff. And you know, he just sort of ignores the noise, the emotions that I might bring, and just, you know, gets me focused on the stuff that really matters. And I think that's, you know, that's invaluable, you know.
Yeah, and I
You
think
know.
that's a really great takeaway. If there's any coaches watching this that are just starting or in the early stages of their business, so many new coaches have multiple offers, multiple tiers of pricing, all these different things, and the busyness of it all just causes confusion and distraction for their clients, and they end up really struggling. So, getting that singularity of focus, I think, is super important. So, thank you for sharing that. And then, in terms of the actual uh, going to that next level of like, with paid advertising and funnels and those things, again, I think it's super interesting that you didn't need to do any of that stuff until you got to 30K plus monthly
Oh,
in your
100%. Yep.
like
Yep.
organically. And that's one of the things of high impact coaching. We focus on like get to that 30K level organically first before you start amplifying the growth. So like what's next for you now? Like what's the next big, goal, target, challenge? Like, well, where are you going in the next 3 to 6 months? Because obviously we talk about the North Star and where we want to take the
Mhm.
business in the future. What's in the short term for you, Hamza? And also what's the long-term vision? Either just business growth, financially, whatever you have as your target right now.
Yeah, you know, I mean, so I did join the seven-figure scale a couple of weeks ago, and so I would say, I don't know, 3 to 6 months, that might be a little ambitious, but definitely that's where I'm aiming, and in meeting, like we've set out an actual, clear path, the number of people you need to enroll, in order to get that and get them into your back end. I've sort of I've done a lot of different masterminds and other courses and so on. I've sort of taken a little bit from all of them, but I think the structure of my business is pretty similar to HIC, with a a front end called Find Your Qibla, and then sort of an accelerator called Find Your Qibla Squared, and then a seven-figure scale called the IV cohort. And so it's a question of, bringing people in. That's the whole 5 before college, bringing people in 5 years before college, getting them to be part of sort of a 5-year income stream, gradually moving up the ladder of the services that you offer. And so, at least in my head, on paper, I see the path forward, towards that. So yeah, that's what I'm currently working on. I definitely see the path forward. I think turning my program into an evergreen model is so I can consistently
Yeah.
be enrolling, because that's what I find now. It's really about the regularly recurring revenue. I have these, big spikes, 40,
Yeah.
$50,000 launch of a new cohort. But then how do you turn that into something like what
Mhm.
happens with Accelerator with you, where you're constantly getting that capital coming in?
Yeah,
And
and I think,
so I think that's the challenge that I'm focusing on
well,
now.
I think I'm really glad you brought that up because and you know this from being an educator as well. Like the best time to teach a student is when they're ready to learn, right?
Hmm.
That's the best time to teach them. And if we have dedicated dates throughout the year when we launch our program, we're likely missing some opportunity in the interim there with people that are ready to get support, but that's not available. And the other thing, just that emotional energy of like the big drop and the big rise and drop and that anticlimactic kind of drop before the next big launch, it can be quite exhausting. So it's not only like financially, I think, far more stable to do it evergreen, but
Hmm.
also it just gives you a sense of calmness
Right,
and
right, right.
sustainability in your business. Hamza, thank you so much for coming on today and doing this. And I know you're having massive impact with the clients that you're working with. Any feedback you've got from your clients of with your new program now and your new delivery? Well, what's been some of the feedback your clients have given you on their experience going through the program with you?
Yeah, I hear from parents a lot of the time, that just, I've never seen my kid light up so much about something they're working on. It's so
Yeah.
exciting to see them find their passion. This was a great investment. Like, I was having a meeting with a student the other day, and she started talking so highly and glowingly that I was like, oh, okay, stop. I have to record this. I'm sorry. I'm a business person. She was just saying, this is life-changing stuff. I can't believe that I was never thinking in this way before about my future, and so on. And so, for the kids who put in the effort and really invest in my program, I'm hoping that I'm getting them similar results. Maybe not, it's obviously not directly financial the way yours is, but I definitely think I'm helping them lay the groundwork towards their them implementing their own vision, and also hopefully creating things that will help them get into the college of their dreams, and so on. So it's yeah, so gratifying to hear about that from the clients.
What a great mission. And I know that you're having massive impact. And congratulations again on your success. You are an amazing client to work with. We love having you here as well. And our next live event actually is September. You plan to be there for that one?
Yep, I am there. I booked my room. Hopefully, I'm bringing one of my team members that I brought in, sort of my chief revenue officer, digital marketer, and I'd love to have him get exposed. And that's another great benefit of the accelerator and
Yeah.
scale, is being able to have your team members get advantage. I have this guy in Pakistan, sort of my operations manager, and he came to a meeting the other day, and afterwards he's like, now I understand why you're paying them so much. He's like that 5 minutes from Xander, when he was breaking down why our funnel's not quite working as well as we hoped, that was worth like so
Yeah.
much. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing you again live in person, and the rest of the team, all those coaches that I've come to know, and all these wonderful calls. And yeah, it's been
Perfect.
great.
Well, we
Yeah.
look forward to seeing you in September. And thanks again for coming on today.
Yeah.
And congrats again on your success. Hey, if someone is out there and they know someone that has a child that could benefit from working with you, how would they get in touch with you? Like, how would they reach you?
Yeah, I think the website fivebeforecollege
Is
.com
that
is
right before call? Is that
yeah, yeah.
FIVE? Yeah.
Yep, just all yeah, FIVE before college, all one word, .com. That's the best way. And I the other thing I'd say is, although my messaging and marketing is aimed at the Muslim market, the stuff that I'm doing is universal, helping kids find their passion and so on. And I was not born Muslim. I care about all my fellow Americans and fellow citizens of the world. And increasingly, we are getting interest from people from other backgrounds and groups. So,
Excellent.
so yeah, if you have a student who's interested in figuring out who they are and using that as a means of paving their way to their college dreams, then definitely look us up and try to get on our email list. That's the main way I add value. So yeah.
Wonderful. All right. Thanks again, Hamzah. We'll see you in September.
You know who made